Hi, I'm Rajiv Gundal, and my mission is to help participants carve a niche for themselves by clearing various tests such as IELTS, TOEFL, PT, and SAT. Today, we are going to discuss a reading comprehension passage and we'll learn a few tricks and techniques of doing reading comprehension. Here, we have got a passage from book 9. This is from test 3, the first passage of test 3, and we'll study a few techniques. So here the way we are going to approach this particular passage is we'll read the first paragraph and the last paragraph and a few things from the whole paragraph one by one to just get the basic idea. Of course, we'll read the questions first to get what kind of passage is this. So first 2 to 3 minutes we will spend understanding the passage with the help of the questions and the paragraphs, some keywords here and there, and then we'll go on answering the questions. So let us just first go to the questions. Well, we have got this true false not given, which means these are factual questions, and it seems like there are 8 true false not given, and they must be from pretty much the whole passage. And then the next set of questions is fill up the blanks. These are word-based questions, which means we can look at the keywords and find the answers there. And that's it. So this is interesting. And the last question is about write the correct letters in box 13 on your answer sheet. What is the writer's purpose? So what is his purpose? Okay, fine. Argue in favor of an approach, present a historical account, describe differences. So is it about historical account? Is it about differences between spoken and written? Or show how a certain view of language has been discredited? Discredited is that we are not believing it. Discredited is to not support something. Okay, so let's see what exactly is the passage all about. The topic says attitude to language, so which means this is about language and attitude towards language. So I understand that different people have different attitudes towards language. Some people say that language should be spoken in one way, others say it should be spoken in the other way. So let's see what is this all about. Not easy to be systematic and objective about the language study. All right, so not easy and systematic. Okay, so which means language is something abstract. So I'll say, okay, language is abstract. This is the first line. I'm reading a little slowly and trying to understand popular linguistic debate. So you're talking about some kind of debate regularly deteriorates. So deteriorates, it's like fall down. It becomes more serious. It's a bad word. Deteriorates means worsens into invective and polemic. Now these words, when I read them for the first time, are really difficult. I mean, they are not from, I don't know these words, but then debate deteriorates to become this, which means people start fighting. All I understand is people fight about the language. All right, so let's see what it is. Language belongs to everyone. Okay, fine, I understand. Everyone uses language. So most people feel they have a right to hold an opinion. Means people can have some opinion about the language. And when opinions differ, emotions can run high. Arguments can start as easily over minor points of usage as over major policies. So basically, they are saying that people can fight about language about either minor points. So there is fight about language either on the easily over minor points as over major policies. So people fight about language about these things. Let me see. If I read the first, so I'll use counting here. There are understandable reasons. Okay, there are understandable why arguments occur. So this is true. Either they are minor points or major points, but the reasons are understandable. So I'll say this is true. People feel more strongly about language education than about small differences language usage. So these are the two keywords. Let me see where they talk about language education and language usage. So okay, I can see this education. Argument can start as easily over minor point of usage. So usage word is also there as about major policies in education. So people, because arguments are starting on both of them, I'll consider that people do not have any special preference for one particular thing. It can be education or it can be So it can be either education or it can be other small points. So people don't have any specific preference towards what they fight on. The fight can be about anything. So the answer to this question, which is here, that people feel more strongly about language education than about so they do not they feel equally about both of them. So this one is false. It's not that they think more about education than usage. Our assessment of a person's intelligence is affected by the way he or she uses language. Well, in general this is correct, but let me go and validate it whether the paragraph also says, is very public behavior easy to different for different usages to be noted? No part of society or social behavior. Okay, so social behavior is exempt. These factors influence how we judge personality. So they are very clearly telling it: intelligence, social status. So based on the language, we judge all these things. The way a person speaks, we kind of make some judgments about the person. All right, so the answer to this question is true. So this one seems to be quite easy. We are going quite fast. From the first 2-3 paragraphs itself, we have got most of the answers here. First, prescriptive grammar books. Now this is something specific. Prescriptive grammar books. Okay, they are talking about books and some kind of grammar books, and the adjective is prescriptive. So there can be some prescription. I understand a doctor gives a prescription that you are supposed to follow some medicines, but then what are they talking about? Let's see. Cost a lot more. So they are talking about the cost of the book. Money in 18th century. So prescriptive grammar books, whatever grammar books there was, they were expensive in 18th century. So let's see the word 18th century, prescriptive books and all this. In most general sum, I can see the word prescriptivism here is the view that, which means they are describing what is prescriptivism, has an inherently higher value than others. So it's prescriptivism which has got higher value, not the books. The word books has not come yet, and that it ought to be imposed on whole of the speech. So basically grammar rules and all are the example of prescriptivism. The view is propounded especially in relation to grammar and vocabulary, frequently with reference to pronunciation. The variety which is favored in this account is usually a version of standard written English. So basically, people say that you are supposed to speak in a certain way, you're supposed to put your thoughts across in a certain way. So that's prescriptivism, especially as encountered in literature or in the formal spoken language, which most clearly reflects this style. Adherents to this variety are said to speak certain language. So, but then I don't see anything related to 18th century here and books. So I would rather go with not given for this particular question, that the books were expensive. It is not given. Prescriptivism still exists today. So still exists today. Prescriptivism now I understand is like you are supposed to follow standards, So in language, sometimes people say that you are supposed to use a certain structure, subject, verb, agreement, grammar, and all those things. So does it exist today? Let us see. So where they do they talk about today? Let's see. All the main languages have been studied prescriptively, all right, especially in 18th century. Oh, so there they might be talking about books. Writing of grammarian dictionaries, the aims of these early grammarians were threefold. So they are talking about the aims of the grammarians. What were the aims? They wanted to codify. They wanted. So see, I'm not reading it very carefully because it's not referring to any question. It's talking about what were the goals or aims of the grammarians there. Why do they wrote grammar ki books? So these were the reasons. Okay, fine, I'll look at this later. Some usages are prescribed to be learned and followed accurately. Others are proscribed to be avoided. Okay, so you are supposed to follow certain structures. This is how you are supposed to write spellings and everything. And some of the things are not supposed to be followed. That's why the word is proscribed, means don't do it. In this early period, there were no half measures. Usages were either right or wrong. So, these grammarians say, tum sahi ho, tum galat ho type. There wasn't anything which was like in middle. And it was the task of the grammarian not simply to record alternatives, but to pronounce judgment upon them. So, grammarians were like the grammar ke teachers who used to pronounce judgment. Tum galat ho, tum sahi ho. The question that the passage says these attitudes are still with us. इससे पता लग रहा है कि आज के ज़माने में भी ये चलता है. So this particular question which says according to descriptive, where is this question? The question is it still exists today. So the answer is true because it says these attitudes are still with us. But then let me just see if there is. Okay, so these fill up the blanks also we can answer. According to these guys, there is only one correct form of language. So it has to be prescriptivists. Prescriptivists वो होते हैं जो कि बोलते हैं भैया तुम्हारा यही रूल चलेगा, होते हैं ना ग्रामर के जाने माने लोग. So prescriptivists, the answer would be H here. There is the one, the linguists who take this approach to language place great importance on grammatical what? Grammatical what? तो इस तरह से आप बोल सकते हैं जब भी कोई blank आए just say grammatical what? Place great importance to grammatical rules, of course rules. So answer बन गया F. हाँ rules के ऊपर ज़्यादा ध्यान देते हैं. Conversely the view of, तो इसका उल्टा कौन है? Prescriptive इसके opposite. तो of course अभी हम passage पढ़ेंगे तो पता लगेगा. But then it is like the other people are descriptive, so we'll see that first. So let's just go with the flow. Let's first finish these questions. Prescriptivism still exists. This is true. According to descriptivists, it is pointless to try to stop language change. So let's try to understand what this is saying. So let us see what this question was saying. According to descriptivists, it is pointless to try to stop language change. Descriptivists के अनुसार it is pointless. Pointless means meaningless. To stop language, to try to stop language change. मतलब language change को stop करना, which means you cannot really stop the language change. Language will always change. It is pointless to try to stop the language change. So you should not try to stop the language change. So language would always change according to them. Language तो बदलेगी. उसको बदलने से रोकना कोई अच्छी बात नहीं है. So let's see where exactly are they talking about this descriptivists and what are the things they are saying. It says these attitudes are still with us and they motivate a widespread concern that linguistic standards should be maintained. Nevertheless, if देखिए ये जो है ना बहुत important words है. Nevertheless का मतलब होता है U-turn, है ना कि भैया ये तो ठीक है लेकिन ये भी एक और बात है देखने वाली. तो ये जो होते हैं इनको बोलते हैं signpost words. इन signpost words पे आपको बहुत ज्यादा ध्यान देना है क्योंकि इससे पैसेज की दिशा बदल जाती है. Like for example, if you look at this nevertheless, it's a U-turn. तो यहाँ तक भाई साहब बात कर रहे थे कि these attitudes are still with us and they motivate a widespread concern that linguistic standards should be maintained. तो standard की बात कर रहे हैं भाई. यहाँ पे बोलता है nevertheless, there is an alternative point of view. अभी एक और पैदा हो गए नए लोग. So this is alternative point of view. What is that? It is concerned less with standards than with facts. तो भैया सच्चाई के ऊपर based है. Standard कुछ नहीं है. This approach is summarized in the statement that it is the task of grammarian to describe, not prescribe. भैया जो है उसको describe कर लो वो काफी है. You cannot prescribe. You cannot predetermine how the language would go. अब इंडियंस इंडिया से कनाडा जाते हैं और इंग्लिश को कनेडियन इंग्लिश में बोलने लग जाते हैं. तो it's like you cannot really describe how to pronounce words and how to speak. या कोई अंग्रेज इंडिया में आता है तो वो अंग्रेजी को हिंदी को अंग्रेजी में बोलने लग जाता है. आइए बातचीत क्या खाएंगे आप. So that kind of Hindi which is spoken in a very English accent. So that does not mean that it is not Hindi or that is not English. I mean, so that's what it is. So this is what descriptivists say, that language cannot be just bound by some standards and structures and rules. It has to be flexible. Okay. So they say that the purpose of a grammarian or the task of a grammarian is to describe, not prescribe. भैया जो चल रहा है उसको describe कर लो, prescribe मत करो. इसमें जैसे ये dash लगता है, dash का मतलब होता है और ज़्यादा इस चीज़ को define करना. तो prescribe मतलब क्या? To record the facts of linguistic diversity and not to attempt the impossible task of evaluating language variation or halting language change. तो ये मत करो भैया तुम. Do not attempt to the impossible task, इसको impossible बोल दे रहा है वो तो, of evaluating language change, variation or halting language change. You cannot, it is impossible to halt the language change. So this is what it is. Question is also saying about the same thing. According to the descriptivism, it is pointless to try to stop language change. So this is true. Descriptivist तो यही ना, वो बोलता है कि भैया language को change होने से तुम बचा नहीं सकते. Descriptivism only appeared after 18th century. तो भैया इसके date of birth की बात हो रही है कि 18th century के बाद में ये चीज आया. So let us try to see whether this is correct. Now see, we are going in a flow. हम थोड़ा थोड़ा पढ़ते जा रहे हैं और क्वेश्चन को करते जा रहे हैं. तो डिस्क्रिप्टिविज्म 18th सेंचुरी के बाद आया. 18th सेंचुरी के बाद आया मतलब क्या हुआ? तो 1701 से 18th सेंचुरी शुरू हो गया. 18th सेंचुरी के बाद आया मतलब कि ये 17 का जो पूरा खत्म हो गया, 1799 पे पहुंच गए. उसके बाद में 18th सेंचुरी, यहाँ पे 18th सेंचुरी खत्म हो गई. सो 18 समथिंग वाज 19th सेंचुरी. इसका मतलब कि 18 समथिंग में डिस्क्रिप्टिविज्म आया according to the question, because it is saying after 18th century. So 1701 से लेकर 1800 तक, this is 18th century. इसको 18th century बोलेंगे ना, क्योंकि 17th year जैसे ही खत्म हुआ तब से बोलते हैं ना 18वां साल लग गया types. So that's what it is. All right, fine. So in the second half of 18th century, now second half of 18th century means 17 something. तो 18th century की बात नहीं है, तो बीच में ही आ गया. We already find advocates of this view. तो ये बोल रहा है after 18th century, so that is incorrect. So the answer is false. According to the pointless, description only appeared after 18th century, so this is false. It was not after 18th century. Both descriptives and prescriptives have been misrepresented. उनको misrepresent किया गया है, ऐसा ये बोल रहा है. किसने represent किया होगा? एक दूसरे को represent कर रहे होंगे, दोनों आपस में लड़ रहे हैं. So let's see whether they have given any such kind of hint. In the second half of this and all this, so what are they saying? Let us try to understand last paragraph. In our own time, the opposition between तो opposition तो आई गया दोनों में. These guys are fighting with each other has become extreme, with both sides painting unreal pictures of each other. Unreal pictures मतलब क्या होता है? Unreal pictures means they are misrepresenting each other. So they are misrepresenting each other, which is correct. So this is true. देखिए एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट ऑब्जर्वेशन ये है कि हर एक पैराग्राफ की फर्स्ट लाइन में ज्यादातर आंसर होते हैं, और अगर आपने फर्स्ट लाइन ध्यान से पढ़ ली तो पूरा पैराग्राफ खत्म हो जाता है. यूजुअली जब नया पैराग्राफ शुरू होता है तो उसके अंदर कुछ आपको आंसर्स मिल जाते हैं. आगे क्वेश्चंस देखते हैं जी. क्या था? Conversely, the view of तो prescriptivist के opposite क्या है? Descriptivist. तो consider the view of descriptivist. This is A, such as ये वाले भाई साहब. तो इस भाई साहब को ढूंढ भी लो आप. जोसेफ प्रेस्ले के कौन है, कहाँ पैदा हुए हैं जोसेफ प्रेस्ले भाई? So ये यहाँ पे कहीं आए थे जोसेफ भैया. So if you look it carefully, yeah, Joseph Priestley. In the second half of 18th century, we already have advocates of this view. अभी जैसे कोई ये भी एक और बहुत important point है, जब कभी कोई वो आए pronoun like this view, अभी this view क्या है? तो इसको आप थोड़ा सा देखिए कि this किससे connected है. This is a pronoun, it must be pointing towards some noun. तो this view मतलब कौन सी view? तो इसके तुरंत पहले कौन सी view आई है? कौन से व्यू की बात चल रही है इसके अंदर? दिस अप्रोच. अगेन दिस अप्रोच आ गया. तो कौन से अप्रोच की बात हो रही है? These attitudes are and they motivate widespread concern. Nevertheless, there is an alternate point of view that is concerned less with standards and more with facts. This approach is summarized in the statement of grammarian, describe not prescribe. तो ये describe not prescribe, ये descriptive वाली बात आ गई है ना. So this is what we call it descriptive. देखिए term यहाँ पे लाया, describe करना ऊपर इन्होंने पहले ही शुरू कर दिया है. So this view is the descriptivist's view. So this Joseph Priestley was a descriptivist. तो इसलिए इन्होंने यहाँ पे ये पूछा है, और ये थोड़ा सा घुमाने वाला है क्योंकि descriptivist word बहुत बाद में आया है. Grammatical this is such as Java is that grammar should be based on. So grammar should be based on what? पॉपुलर स्पीच. पॉपुलर स्पीच मतलब जो चीज चल रही है. ग्रामर जो है वो रूल्स के अंदर बंधी हुई नहीं होना चाहिए. ग्रामर जो है वो पॉपुलर स्पीच के ऊपर बेस्ड होना चाहिए. सो इफ यू लुक एट द होल पैसेज, in this passage this writer has talked about the attitude to language, and there are two different types of attitudes. One is the prescriptivism, another is descriptivism, where they try to describe everything rather than telling how should it go. So prescriptivism और descriptivism की history बताई है, but if you look at the passage, writer खुद किसी particular view को support नहीं कर रहा है. So which means the answer to this question should be, what is the writer's purpose in passage 1? Argue in favor of a particular approach? No. Present historical account? Yes. The correct answer is B. So this is how you can do it. कुछ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें जो हमने पढ़ी हैं वो ये हैं कि हर एक पैराग्राफ की फर्स्ट लाइन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है, उसको ध्यान से देखना जरूरी है. दूसरा जो हमने पॉइंट देखा, जब कभी आपको प्रोनाउन मिले कि दिस, तो आप जरा देखिए कि वो कहाँ पे है. क्वेश्चन को पैराफ्रेज जरूर कीजिए, तो पैराफ्रेज करने से पता चल जाएगा कि वो क्वेश्चन पूछ क्या रहा है, और ज्यादा ध्यान क्वेश्चंस पे रखिए. और 15-20 पैसेजेस आप 2-3 दफा कर लीजिए, जिससे कि आपको एक आइडिया लग जाए कि ये लोग कैसे पैराग्राफ्स और पैसेजेस बनाते हैं. मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ, ये आइल्स किस चीज का टेस्ट है? व्हाट इज द टेस्ट ऑफ आइल्स? आइल्स में क्या पूछा जाता है? सो व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ आइल्स? इज इट अ टेस्ट ऑफ इंग्लिश और समथिंग एल्स? Because I have seen people with very good English also failing in this test. So good English is not good enough. IELTS is not a test of English. वरना कई तो अंग्रेज हैं जो यूएस में रहते हैं और फिर भी वो 2-4 बार IELTS दे करके क्लियर नहीं कर पाते हैं. और मतलब I'm not being sarcastic with that, that's the fact. IELTS is not a test of English at all. IELTS is a test of how well you know the test. कि भैया तुम इस टेस्ट को बहुत अच्छे से कैसे समझते हो. जरूरी नहीं है कि इंग्लिश अच्छी होना बहुत जरूरी है, और स्ट्रॉन्ग इंग्लिश के बिना आइल्स को क्लियर नहीं किया जा सकता. इट इज ट्रू दैट गुड इंग्लिश इज एन एसेट, एंड आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट यू शुड नॉट वर्क टुवर्ड्स इंप्रूविंग योर इंग्लिश, बट देन देयर इज नो रिलेशन एज सच बिटवीन क्लियरिंग आइल्स एंड गुड इंग्लिश. गुड इंग्लिश कैन एट बेस्ट बी अ गुड सपोर्ट, लाइक इट्स एन ऑक्सिलरी थिंग, इट्स नॉट द प्राइमरी थिंग. द प्राइमरी थिंग इज हाउ वेल यू नो द टेस्ट. इस टेस्ट का स्ट्रक्चर क्या है, ये लोग कैसे इस पर्टिकुलर टेस्ट को अरेंज किए हुए हैं, क्वेश्चंस का पर्पस क्या है, और कैसे ये लोग क्वेश्चंस बनाते हैं, कैसे घुमाते हैं, ये हमको समझना है. तो टेक्निक्स को अगर आप सीख लिए तो विथ मीडियोकर इंग्लिश और बेसिक इंग्लिश आल्सो यू कैन क्लियर दिस टेस्ट. और अगर हम टेक्निक नहीं सीखे, देन इवन विथ फैंटास्टिक इंग्लिश इट विल नॉट बी पॉसिबल फॉर यू टू क्लियर दिस टेस्ट. तो टेक्निक्स जानिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल हमने पढ़ा फर्स्ट पैरा लास्ट पैरा. हमेशा पहले फर्स्ट पैरा लास्ट पैरा पढ़ लीजिए, पहले क्वेश्चंस पढ़ लीजिए, पैसेज करने से पहले क्वेश्चंस देख लीजिए. उसके बाद ज्यादातर आप कॉम्बिंग टेक्निक लगाइए. कॉम्बिंग के अंदर क्या कीजिए, एक एक पैराग्राफ पढ़ते जाइए, उससे रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस करते जाइए. फिर पैराग्राफ पढ़िए, थोड़ा सा लिख लीजिए, उससे रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन कीजिए. ज्यादा दिमाग अपना क्वेश्चंस पे लगाइए. जब क्वेश्चन पढ़े तो क्वेश्चन को जरूर पैराफ्रेज कीजिए, और उसमें कीवर्ड्स को आइडेंटिफाई कर लीजिए, कौन से कीवर्ड्स हैं, कहाँ जाना है और क्या बोल रहा है, उस पार्ट्स को थोड़ा सा पढ़ लीजिए और उसको आंसर करते जाइए. Whenever you find any difficult words, do not try to understand, do not think अरे बाप रे इस वर्ड का मतलब क्या है. लेकिन आपको क्या करना है, आपको बस उस डिफिकल्ट वर्ड को उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखना है और आगे बढ़ जाना है. So this is how you can approach the whole test, and by this you would be able to score very good marks. Thank you.